Yo, what is up, all you stone cold, super fly, illmatic fish keeping funkadelics? You watching Aquafunk Aquatics with me, Aquafunk, and today, or tonight, or whatever, we're gonna be talking about my top 10 tank mates for angelfish. Now, keep in mind, this list is going over fish that I've personally had. It's personal experience, and I'm basing it off of keeping in mind that the angelfish is going to be the star of the show. All these fish that I'm talking about are going to complement the angelfish. And stick around, because I have a whopper, a doozy, after my top number one, which, by the way, I'm not going in any particular order except for number one. But at the end of number one, I'm going
a mind blower. It's gonna be a mind blower
on a fish that I believe is not recommended for angels. All right, so the first fish, I'm gonna go ahead, and like I said, this is in no particular order except for my number one pick. We're gonna go with the pearl scale gourami, all right? Now, the pearl scale gourami gets about 5 inches, and the reason why I believe that this fish is a great tank mate is because its fins, the fins of the pearl scale gourami and the coloration, kinda, I ain't gonna lie to you, it rivals that of the angelfish. Long, flowy fins, the patterning and the coloration, the striking, you know, with its little polka dots and stuff like that, and the red and the brownish, tannish, goldish color with the black bling across the, look, pearl scale gourami, awesome fish. Not aggressive, you know. The only problem with the pearl scale gourami that you might run into is the angelfish and the pearl scale gourami's water parameters. So you're gonna have to find a happy medium for them too. But other than that, I think the pearl scale gourami with its fins that are, in my opinion, you know, different but just as spectacular as the angels, I think they make a good match. Rainbow cichlid, I got one. One of my favorite of the cichlids, and I don't know if it's because it's mine and I've got lucky with a very, very colorful one, because I've seen a lot of rainbows that don't have the color that mine does. But then again, I feed my fish, you know, really good food. So I don't know how other people are keeping them. But the rams will get about 5 inches, give or take. You know, I mean, some places, you know, they've seen up to 6 inches. To be honest with you, I've never really seen a ram bigger than 4.5 inches. I mean, sorry, a rainbow more than 4.5 inches. But I would only have one in the tank. The one I have, people say that, oh, it's so docile, it doesn't cause it. No, the one that I have can be kind of rowdy at times. Never hurt anybody.
This water got pepper or something in there, I don't know.
Now there's the Denison Barb or the Roseline Barb. It gets about 5 inches. Now, the cool thing about this one is if you have a tank big enough and you get yourself about 6 of them, they are shoaling fish. They're not necessarily schooling, but they do travel in packs back and forth in groups, a loose group. That's shoaling, like a loose group. You know, they will stay around each other. Now, here's the thing. That red blaze across the hat that goes halfway down his body from its nose, halfway down, is almost like, it's almost like a big rummy nose, you know what I mean? So, and the shape of the Denison Barb or the Roseline shark is so opposite of the angelfish. I think the contrast works good with them side by side. As far as food goes, just like the which I should have mentioned for the pearl gourami, there is a slightly different type of food requirement, but a tropical flake will work for all these fish. All right, so now we're going to talk about the Kribensis Cichlid. Now, this fish is actually from the rivers of West Africa. It is a cichlid. In my opinion, it's a dwarf cichlid. The males will only get about 3.5 inches long. This makes a great tank mate because whereas the angelfish likes to stay in the middle of the water column in an open swimming area, the crib will like to stay closer to the bottom. The other two fish that I mentioned prior, they also swim in the middle of the water column, but this one will stay around structures. Now, if there's a downside to having Kribensis, which are angels, is if you have male Kribensis with female Kribensis, they will breed. They're just as prolific as angels when it comes to breeding, and they're a cichlid, right? So you might have some issues. But the cool thing is if you wanted to get all males or all females of the Kribensis, they're just as beautiful. It's not like some other fish where the male cichlid looks way prettier than the female. They do look different, but I think their colorations are just as striking regardless if you get male or female. So I would go with either all male or all female cribs if you're gonna have a group of them in a tank with angels. All right, so now we're gonna talk about something a little bit more traditional, and that's the Congo Tetras. Congo Tetras will grow up to about 3 inches, long flowy fins. They also a shoaling type of fish that swims in the middle column, eats the same type of food, takes the same type of water requirements. Now this fish, check it out. This fish, as far as iridescence goes, I can't really pick another fish that has such striking iridescence to it. So their coloration is very interesting. They have the whitish, grayish, silverish color to them, but as they move and depending on your light and your you know, the shimmy on the top of your tank, their iridescence will just, you know, change, have them changing from blues, and you'll see blues and reds, and you'll see all kinds of things in there. Okie dokie, we're talking about the blue Acara. Blue Acara, electric blue Acara. You can find it almost anywhere. They're not that expensive. Great fish to have. The colors, I mean, obviously are incredibly striking. My blue Acara, I'm gonna be 100%. Honestly, this is another fish like the rainbow cichlid. I'd probably only keep one of, because if they start breeding, you got issues. And my blue Acara has been one of the meanest of the blue Acaras. Never messed with my angels, but definitely went after the other cichlids of the same shape.
Awesome, awesome, beautiful fish.
If you get yourself a blue Acara in your angel tank, you got a nice looking tank. Now we're talking about a fish that, I'm gonna be honest, this one, I said earlier that I've never had, and I've had them, but I've never had them with angels. And here's the deal. The reason why I've never had them with angels, they've always been hard for me to come by. I don't know what it is whenever I've come across them, I didn't have the means to have them, or they was a little, because they can get kind of pricey. The flag cichlid. Now the flag cichlid, the reason why I love the flag cichlid is because I'm really into fish with very distinct shapes. I mean, if you look at the fish that I've mentioned so far, their shapes, if you were to put them in a silhouette where it was all blacked out, you can definitely tell what type of, well, for the most part, what type of fish it is. So I like distinct shapes, and this one definitely has a little like arrowhead shape to it, and they come from the same waters as the angel, so they also are cichlid, so the parameters are the same, right? This fish will get up to 6 inches, right? Now the only problem I see with this fish, honestly, is availability. You don't see them that often. So, like, if you ever get a chance to come across them, I would probably, you know, and I maybe the pattern, the shape of the fish is maybe so outrageous that it's off-putting to some people. But I mean, if you're into having different shapes in your tank, this is definitely a conversation. In some cases, it might take away from the awesomeness of your angels. I mean, honestly, if I was sitting down at a tank with angels and this fish in it, I would be really drawn to look at this fish and kind of look at it, you know, kind of sideways and stuff. But nah, flag cichlid or festivum, whatever you want to call it, that's the name of it. Definitely a good pick. Hey, you want to hear a secret?
I got 3 coming tomorrow.
Dwarf Acara. Extremely similar to the Kribensis, where it likes to stay low and stay amongst structures down at the bottom. I have one. I'm looking for more of them, actually. I'd like to breed these guys, but they're little. You know, they don't seem to be afraid in my tanks. I've had them in my tank. I've had this dude with bigger fish and smaller fish. I mean, bigger angels, smaller angels, bigger fish, smaller fish, and they don't seem to be afraid. Just give them somewhere. You know, they like a planet. If you're into planet tanks. They definitely like the planet tank. They don't tear nothing up, and they will really appreciate all the cover. They don't hide so much in the planet tanks. It just gives them a little bit of how you call it, security. Something went down the wrong pipe. They will come out often and pretty much stay out, but you need to give them some place to call their own, and a lot of plants definitely do that for them. Ram cichlid. All right. So you got the black ram, you got the gold ram, you got the blue ram, you got the German blue ram, you got the Bolivian ram, you got balloon rams. There's a bunch of different type of rams out there. Rams, extremely docile, not gonna cause no harm. The only problem I have with the rams and angels is that I've noticed that the rams like the warmer water, which, I mean, angels can handle up to 85, you know, and rams would definitely like it around 85, but then you have a lot of evaporation going on. Not to mention, rams do best in old tanks, well-established tanks, like a year old. If you have a tank that's a year old with plants in it, pH, you know, low, they're a little bit more sensitive than the other fish that I've mentioned on the list. But if you have the right parameters, which angels will very much enjoy the parameters that you provide for a ram, then rams would be great. But they also could be kind of pricey, especially if you get a lot of them. I've been to some places where they're 20 bucks. I've been to some places where they're 6 bucks. It just depends on who's selling them, I guess. But rams, definitely a cool little cichlid.
Okay.
Now we're talking about my top pick. My top pick. My number one pick is actually not an individual fish. It's actually a species of fish. It's the geos. A lot of you guys have been watching my channel know that I've been on a geo kick over the last year or so. Here's the thing with the geos and angels. Perfect match. Perfect match. It don't get more perfect than the geos and the angels. The geos, you get geos, you really don't need to have catfish because they pretty much do that job. They eat off the bottom in the sand and stuff. Now, I do have one in particular geo that if I had to pick for angels, I would go with, and I'm gonna get to that in a second. But the sizes of geos is funny because they range in size, anywhere from 6 to 12 inches, depending on the type of geo you get. Now, if I had to pick uno of the geos, I would have to go with the fish that started it off for me, and that's the GEOPHAGUS HECKELI or threadfin Acara. They only get to about 5 to 6 inches, you know, so they don't get so much bigger than the angels. They might get longer, but not taller. So it's the same, you know. And the cool thing with threadfin Acara, out of all the geos I have, he's more likely to eat in the middle of the water and at the bottom. So he's not just at the bottom, he moves around. He's a little different acting than all the other geos, but a little easier to get too. I mean, I've seen them pretty much everywhere. Not that expensive, but some of the other geos can get kind of pricey and big. So do your research on which geo you can get for your angels. But if you come across a threadfin Acara, their colors
are banging,
their fins
are smooth,
and you can't really go wrong with them, you know. Okay, so here's the skinny on the fish that I don't recommend for angels, and it's gonna piss a lot of people off. And I was actually surprised when I heard about this. I've never had discus and angels together. I've seen tanks with them together, but I've never had them together. Now, I'm not saying they cannot go together. I'm just saying it takes a lot more to get them to live in harmony together. And I'm gonna tell you why. I have a live stream every Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel, and I had Gabe Posada, discus expert, and we were talking about discus and angels, and he said he does not recommend it. Discus are shy by nature. They take a while to acclimate, to get comfortable enough to come out in the open and all that. Whereas angels, complete opposite. It takes about 24 hours, they're out and about and they're eating, furiously eating. So what he was saying was, and it made 100% sense to me, is that the discus end up pretty much starving because the angels, they can't compete with the angels as far as food goes, especially over that first. If you have angels first and then you introduce the discus, yeah, those discus have no chance of getting food because those angels, it's not like you're gonna feed it so much that the angels will stop eating, because one, they don't stop eating, and two, all you're doing is fouling up your water. So if you did put discus with angels, I would recommend that you have the discus well established and larger than the angels before you add the smaller angels, so that the discus at least have a fighting chance at getting at the food. Discus are running anywhere from $50 to $100 to $200 a piece, and that's not a chance you want to take, because your $10 angels will definitely win out on the food battle.